Welcome to the IFCA Journal Podcast. I'm your host, PJ Hedrington. I would like to thank our guest, a special man to me, a friend, a mentor, someone who I truly love. He is the godfather of my daughter. He has been a role model for me since college. Courtney Messingham linked us up in college. I think my freshman or sophomore year, and he's been in my life. He's guided me through some personal battles. He's also been a good faith leader to me, which has been amazing. He does that to a lot of people. He's truly an inspiration, pioneer in our state, Coach Aundra Meeks. And I'll read his bio, and then we'll just kind of go from there. It's a lot. So he was the athletic director at Waterloo Columbus Catholic. He won a district title there. He won a state championship in 2004. He is the first and the only African American to ever win a state title. He was at Dowling. He's been there since he's been there. He's won 7 state titles. He coached several all district running backs. And again, he's produced a lot of college level top tier running backs. He's an IFCA board president, the first African American to do that. He's an IFCA committee chair, especially for the playoff committee. He leads that, and he does a wonderful job with that. A coach of the year in 2A, district coach of the year, and one of the biggest honors too, National High School Coaches Association award winner, also National Coach of the Year. So, and again, the list goes on and on. But Shrine Bowl coach, and one of the biggest thing that I take from him is his motivation to his student athletes. He sends inspirational text messages, spiritual text messages to his athletes, and it doesn't just happen in high school. It goes beyond that and into their personal lives, into their and into their growth as adults, and he mentors them through life. And so his impact is greatly found. He's truly one of the pioneers and the unicorns of our profession. So he's really a special individual. So I just would like to thank you to our guest, Coach Aundra Meeks.
What's your running back philosophy and how did you develop it?
Running back philosophy is come over time, listening and a lot of coaches say, stealing information and listening and learning from other coaches, whether other high school coaches, college, professional, all the clinics, many sessions we've gone through over the years. But it really is boiled down to this philosophy in the last, I would say, in the last six years, is get better. That has been the philosophy. They know what they want to be, they know who they want to be, and how can we get better? Getting better is not doesn't say that it's going to happen right now. And then we talked about the journey. When guys come into the program, into the high school program, it's a journey. It's a 4-year journey. Are you willing to get better in those 4 years? And that's the process, and that's kind of the philosophy I've kind of dwindled it down to over the years, is get better.
Okay. All right. If I'm a young coach, what advice do you have for me just starting out into the profession?
Develop a system that you feel comfortable with. You have to, again, as you are listening and taking and getting things, but you have to be comfortable with what you're teaching and how you're going to teach it, and find consistency in your teaching. Make sure it is a consistent philosophy that you can hang your hat on and fall back on. And also, that consistency means there's flexibility in it. Every kid is different. Every kid has a different makeup, physically, mentally, how they can be coached, and so everyone's different. So you have to really hone into that, their specific personalities. Really, it is. And it's not, talk about philosophy. What coach told me a long time ago. He used to be the head basketball coach at University of Northern Iowa, Jim Berry, and he told me, that is you're the field, the court, wherever you're doing is a classroom. So you got to connect with those individuals on an individual basis, and then hopefully bring them together as a unit, whether it's a team or whether it's a position, bring them together as a unit to function together. So that's been a goal, is to say, oh, can you, for a young coach, how does this person work? Can I coach them hard? Do they need more of a push behind the things, or do they understand? Are they a sponge? Do they understand? Are they a junkie? Meaning a junkie, meaning a sports junkie. Do they love the sport of football? Do they spend time watching football outside of our stuff? Are they watching college? Are they watching NFL? What are they watching? You know, in our day and era, going out and playing football on the corner lots is that's dwindled down to,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
what the Xbox and Z-box and Madden and all those different things, and so are they still performing, watching other people do what they want to do, is be a running back, and, so that's kind of what in our eyes, and that hasn't changed since for forever, being a complete running back. And so that's still the focus point. Are you willing to do everything that a running back needs to do? Whether that's we all want to carry a football, but will you block?
Right. Yep.
Will you be able to catch the football? Will you be an effort guy if we have a turnover? Will you get after it? Go tackle somebody. Will you be the complete person on that field? That's kind of the philosophy and kind of the way we approach it, with our guys.
Good. Nice. Love it. You flowed right into my next question. What qualities do you look for in your running backs? Okay. And again, you were just talking about how um some whether they're a football junkie, whether they're IQs and all the things, but so what are some of the qualities you look for?
Well,
And I know
are there
that could be a hard question sometimes, right? That could be a difficult
covers
question.
a lot of things.
Yes.
Team first. That's one of the things. Are they a team first? Do they understand that it's just not them on the field? It's not
Correct.
just about them.
Right.
Do they understand that they need to be a part of the 11? The offensive line, those that block for them, how do they appreciate those guys? Or how do they show appreciation for those guys? Over the course of the time and years of being a part of this game, seeing it evolved, and when I was younger, listening to the running backs from the professional says, "Yeah, I bought all my linemen Rolex watches, or I bought them this and that." That appreciation and
Right.
understanding. All right, high school kids can't do that kind of stuff, but so how do they show appreciation for those guys up front and the tight ends and other
Right.
guys in our
Right.
group that put the time into block and do those other things that they receive the glory for? And so
Right.
that is, every day, one of the things that happens every day, and sometimes it takes a little longer when we come into our team sessions or our run game sessions and that type of thing. Those guys are shaking up, they go through a line just like you would at the end of practice. They go through a line and shake all the offensive linemen hand. That's part of they got all the different handshakes. And sometimes I know us as coaches, we go, come on, hurry up and get done. But it's an important part. And you see that develop throughout the course of a season. The appreciation grows and it becomes pretty amazing of what happens through the process. So that's the type of thing. Are they willing to be hand down? Are they willing to coach other players? Are they willing to, are they in it just for themselves? Or are they willing to share that information that they're learning, especially as they grow in the program, to look down to the freshman, to the sophomore, come work a camp, to hand down that information,
Right.
and we
Yep.
continue to build the process of what this program looks like once that journey, their high school journey is finished. And that really comes back to the philosophy of it's a journey. Are you willing to get better at the journey? You get better by handing it down, talking it, teaching it, handing it down, and now you have room to grow at the top of that journey. So those are a few things that we like to look at. Desire to learn. We talked about being a junkie. Their daily habits, looking at what their daily habits are, whether it be in the classroom, in the hallway, out the field, at home. What are their daily habits? How are they treating their mom and dad? How are they treating this? There's a lot of that dialogue that goes on. I really get to know the parents through the process, and that's a part of it. Hey, coach, some days, he can't believe he yelled at me the other day, coach. And so, having that type of relationship with the parents, you get that information, and so you get different types of information that you can use. And again, building not just a football player, but person, this lifelong learner in this journey. And the journey does not end at the high school level. The journey just turns to in a different direction once they
Hmm.
finish, because the day to day process is done, and they're into someone else's hands. Now you become that friend, mentor, a type of person throughout the process of the rest of their lives, and hopefully
Hmm.
sometimes it happens that when they start having children, they start, I've had the fortune to be able to coach some of my former players' kids now. So I'm
Mm.
into that stage of the game where,
Yeah.
they're coming back, and then, building new traditions with them. I mean, hey, coach, let's take the boys out and let's go have dinner before you start the season. All right, let's go do it. So that type of journey with them as well. But the daily habits is an important part of it as well, PJ. As one of the things we talk about sometimes is how it transfers from the field, from the classroom to the field, from the house to the field. If you're making mistakes or you're taking shortcuts in the classroom and the hallways at home, those things are going to show up at some point in time on the field,
Right.
and it
Yep.
could be a
Yep.
critical time for you.
Yep.
So
Very
there
true.
is a
Very
connection
true.
still there. Even though as I get older, I guess it seems like there's less of connection with them thinking that way. They can compartmentalize, this is different from this. This is different from this. No, it's still the same philosophy from when, older people were telling me it matters. What you do in a classroom matters and it shows on the field. So if you're able to
Correct.
conduct yourself with discipline off the field and those type of things, you're going to have greater success on the field. So
Right.
that's kind of the gist.
So what I'm saying, coaches understand something. Coach Minks is talking about as far as daily habits and structure. Not only are you building a program culture, but you're building a position culture, and then you're also building a culture amongst your offensive linemen. So, like one of the things that stood out to me was the handshakes between the offensive line and your players that you do. That just builds a lot of trust and love with your kids. So that's pretty neat. All right, moving on to the next one. Okay, what are key drills you do daily or weekly? Okay, what are key drills you do daily or weekly for your running backs? And again, coach,
Well, we always
if you want to share a couple of drills, that's fine. You can go into depth however you want to do this.
we try to break it down into things that they do in the four phases of football is the way we put it together. Looking at ball security, that's going to be tops on the list of what we do every day. Some form of ball security, and most of the time. Especially during the season, most of the time is dealing with some type of drill work as well. And so very, very often, I should say very few times do we just do just foot drill, by itself. It's
Right.
going to be
Yeah.
accompanied with something. You remember this guy, Coach Matt McGettigan, was at Iowa State for a long time with Coach McCarney, and he used to say, get more bang for the buck. So taking as many things to put them together. So they're learning skills and they're also learning the drills at the same time and working philosophy at the same time. So that's kind of the philosophy, but it breaks down into we break it down to ball security, agilities along with play recognition, and then we'll get into receiving parts of it, breaking down those parts of it, hands and out.
Okay.
Then we'll
Yeah.
also get into blocking. So those
Okay.
four are our cornerstones of what we do. Inside of the four cornerstones that we follow, there are everyday things that have to happen in there to make sure the process get done. But it's all done using skills and the drills that we call like your footwork drills and that type of thing evolved in part of a play. All
Okay.
right. So there we're also getting play recognition at the
Right.
same time.
Okay.
So they're
Yeah. Okay.
getting more bang. We're getting more bang for the buck
Right. Right.
in this time where you're only going to get so much time in individual time to work with your guys, especially in season. So we got to be able to maximize our time with our agilities and our play recognition at the same time. So we're always in a state of, for instance, for example, agility backs. Well, we use those agility backs to talk about the train. All right, our tracks. We use that on our tracks, and the way we use on our tracks is get them the guidance to say what are the steps taking me, but also getting them the guidance say I have to get my knees up. And as I'm getting my knees up, at the same time we're working on a specific play, they're also working on their pad level. So getting more bang for the buck in a working on a play recognition, we can still get into skills and drills at the same time. So
Okay.
that's kind
Okay.
of the approach we've taken with this, and that's all based out of the four corners of our program of what we do every day. So it's always broken down that way. But we start with number one is ball security. What things are we going to do inside of ball security? It varies from day to day on the things that we do, but this gonna be ball security. And the guys hear me say this all the time. I am a mama's boy, and I'm very good with being a mama's boy. But
Same. Same. I am too.
the ball is the most important thing. And if we don't have the football, then we can be productive offensively. And if we don't have the football, you football down, you can't be productive on the field as well. So, you spend some more time sitting and talking with Coach Meeks on the sideline or Coach Nicholson on the sideline. That's kind of the philosophy. But the ball becomes part of who we are. And for me, as I was growing up, it became my mom. That was the most important thing. I didn't want anybody to take my mom away from me. I wasn't going to let that happen. So having that imagery of what's important to you, who's important to you, and making that ball. And I know I've talked to your sons about that as well.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
important.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a fundamental staple that, as we progress, I started off talking. I was always talking about the ball and the pressure points, and we still do some of that pressure points. But I feel like I'm throwing out names, but these are guys that I've been stealing from for a number of years.
Yeah.
And building this philosophy, working camps and that type of thing. But, Carl Jackson, former Iowa running backs coach, he said, yeah, I get, but he said high and tight, just say high and tight. And so that has evolved as the number one staple, and that's all we have to say now. Once they progress to the varsity level, is just say high and tight, and they know exactly what that means, and and they understand what the pressure points are. So, but that's where we start with our daily stuff. The skills of being able to be flexible in their ankles, knees, and hips, and being able to move in the multiple directions is important for an athlete. I think it's all positions, but especially with what we're doing with our stances and everything like that. So we will flexibility, eyes, and the vision to be able to adjust on the run. Do you see the big picture? Can you see the big picture? Or is your picture so far, so narrow that things move by you and you go, "Oh, I missed one." So working on the vision and all these things, and everybody's got little jargon phrases they throw out there. With the eyes, we say, "See it, be it." When you see it, be it. Well, it used to be run the daylight. Now the guys kind of, they adapt to this out of the patience of looking at from the running back position. When we see it, now let's be it. Let's become it. And so that's kind of what we're kind of evolved to through the process. Receiving hands, I don't think anything's a lot of things change that way, but we're using more tennis balls nowadays in our approach with receiving. Just that focus, that attention to detail, and those type of things have helped that process go along that way. And then the blocking, we're using a lot of one man sleds
Mhm.
technique. We're using the same approach that the offensive linemen are used. Some of those inside hands and driving, but using a lot of one man sled because that works their hips at the same time. Again, trying to get more bang for our buck. We're still working drills and agility things that they use carrying the football, but they are also going to use them blocking. So how do we get better with those things every day is what we'll try to do. So inside of that process, if we're working that day, we're working inside zone that day. That's our primary focus. All of our drills will be built towards that with all these things made up in there. All right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we will have high and tight. So there's gonna be some ball security in there as we're running the play inside our inside zone play. They're having an approach with bags on there, but we already have our punchers. We got the boxing gloves on a stick. Something is going to attack them while they're carrying that football at all times. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
we're still getting more bang for our buck because we are able to put everything into these drills. Now, our time goes a lot faster and we're more productive that way. And I think the kids, it's more game like and being able to see and visualize those type of things. One of the things that you would ask me one time, we talked about second level, third level, and how do we approach all that. That's all built into display. And so we're going to have some drills at the second level that they have to overcome with whether they're using anything out of their tool bag, stiff arm, hit and spin, and all these drills that individual drills you can bring back, not do individually. And now we're going to put them into that segment with our everyday drills. So they're getting that look every day of a second level. What's the third level? Who's coming? That type of thing. And so that is a big part of what we do every day as well with our running back. So they are getting the play run before we even get the team. They're getting 7 to 8 reps at the play before we even get to the next segment of team.
Wow, yeah, that's
So
good.
they're moving in that direction already before we even get to our team, our inside run game team and all that stuff. They're already getting a lot of reps with that. So it helped increase their knowledge and their understanding of it as well. And so that's the kind of the end of practice things. And then there's outside of practice, they have to do reports outside of practice. You have to do either way. We're either at 2 or 3 reports a week, depending on how the flow, how the mechanics, and how we're doing in practice. But they have to, I give them clips that they have to watch, and then they give me their feedback on that. Before I tell them what we're looking at, what they need to be looking, they tell me what they're seeing. This is what the plays we're running. Now you tell me what you're seeing, and so they have to give me a report. It's either written or it's typed out a report that comes back detailed on what they see movement from their defensive back, from the linebackers, from the D line. What are they seeing? And giving me even a personnel report throughout it. So they're giving me feedback of what they're watching. Again, trying to get them to be more involved as a junkie of the game, on a daily
Yep,
basis. So
yep,
now
yep.
they're mentally locked in as well as physically, like we're doing every day at practice. Now they're mentally locked in, and now they can see it. Now once they give me the report, now I give them feedback on that report. And so we can incorporate those type of things into this. Some coaches had been doing cahoots and that type of thing. I tried that and it worked, but Kahoot, you can just push a button and say yes, no. But now I like this approach because it makes me be more detailed. It gives
Right.
me more, gives them more feedback in there. I can give them more feedback, detail oriented. And so we can get into that philosophy and that talk about, all right, who this defensive back, this cornerback, this safety, how are they going to tackle me? How are they approaching the ball? So now they can see, and now you tell me how you are going to combat what they are doing. How are you going to make adjustments on the run to what you see coming at you? So they get a big picture mentally before they even come to the field to practice. So it's trying to feed physical, mental, and then spiritual always comes in. So that's part of all we do. But we're trying to feed as much as we can into those days. So once we get to Thursday, they've played the game already. They have played the game. There's no doubt in my mind they played the game. They've done the things we've asked them to do, which most of them do. I think for a great part, you can see it, the process in practice, and you see the progress. They're playing the game, and that's what we try to get them to do: play the game before we play it.
Okay, good. I tell you what, now, coaches, now that was a lot of information. So
It
what I
was a
love
lot.
that was a lot. That's a lot. And the thing is, that question, and I knew that question as a running back, and we're both former running backs. Okay, that's such a broad question that there's so much that goes into it, and I don't think a lot of people understand.
Mhm.
But so what I did, and coaches, you may have to rewind this to catch some of the details that he said, but it's okay. That's why we're doing a podcast. You can do that. Andre, I wrote down a couple, Coach Minks, I wrote down a couple key points that I wanted to ask for me, because again, I'm learning from you. You mentioned, okay, you're going into your everyday drills, and of course, you guys are inside zone team, outside zone sometimes, whatever you're
Mhm.
running, wide zone. If I'm a young coach and I'm in a small community, how much time do I give to that individual drill before I go into that team session? How much time?
Well, it varies from program to program. Coach Wilson, gives us 20, 25 minutes,
Okay.
for individual, and that, it varies. Other things could go into it. You get with the quarterbacks for some mesh timing, get with the offensive linemen because there's a key, the combo block. I want them to be able to see a combo block and what it looks like so they can see that
Right.
vision as
Right.
well. So there's a lot of things that could go into that time, but it's basically 20, 25 minutes. But and that's in season stuff. Where I
Right.
think we make our most progress is from June to the end of July. And I say that because we take time for individual workouts. So a running back will have workouts individually. We go for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes, 7 times by ourselves
Wow.
throughout the summer. So
Wow.
we'll
Yeah.
spend time building this before we even get there. And
Right.
the the philosophy is on this. We want you to see. I want them to get a feel and see what it is, and ask the questions now, and
Right.
go through the process during the summertime. So when we get to the season, when we're in the heat of things, when the bullets are flying,
Right.
your
Right.
body already knows
Right.
how to react.
Repetition. Yep.
You
Yep.
know, your
Muscle
body
memory.
already understands, you've already seen it, and you've been able to adjust with it. And they get used to each other, and they get used to us as coaches, and they get used to each other, and then, you really get the chance to see who's willing to share that information, who's coaching who, players coaching players. They said player-led teams are always the best teams. We get a chance to develop that and see that, and you get a chance to let those guys lead. And so that's been a great process to be involved with. But yeah, we'll have 6 or 7 by ourselves, and then we'll have skills, with receivers session and quarterbacks, or that type of thing. So we don't do a lot of team stuff, but we'll get together in skill wise. With those positions, I should say skill wise, because our offensive linemen are pretty good skill guys themselves. But
Right.
we'll get together with the quarterbacks and receivers, and we'll have 4 or 5 of those sessions. So we'll get everything we need in the summertime before the season even starts.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Okay. My next question. Okay. Can and this is something that again I'm going in and I'm thinking as a young coach. Okay. Can I teach vision to my young running backs? Can I coach that up? Can I do that? And how do I do it?
It's not something that it's going to be happen overnight. We do quite a bit with vision, mental vision, and so after we finish the practice and we're doing our little breakdown huddle just in our individual groups, we'll go through what we call a step drill. All right. So now in the process of what we just worked on, I will call a play, and they will take one step and visualize and see the big picture. All right. How are you going to get to the end zone? What's the block that you have to make? So being able to see that mentally without any bullets flying, help
Wow.
them in that process of doing it, seeing it every day. Again, I- sometimes we get made fun of, which is okay. I'm good with it. Of how many different toys we have out there, because sometimes they're getting bags thrown at them. I want them to be able to see and be able to adjust to that on the move, because that's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
It
that's
happens
and that
fast.
that's the process gonna happen. But the one step has been really good for us, just taking one step and seeing the play. And how are you working your way to the end zone? Because that's our job. Our job is, once we get that football in our hands, is to figure out how I need to get to the end zone. If I'm a fullback, for us, I've got to figure out how I'm gonna make the perfect block to spring that to the end zone. And so being able to see the big picture without any bullets flying has been a great thing for us to do. It only takes, 3 or 4 minutes, 4 minutes after practice. Run through a couple of those plays and they see it. The other part of it is after they've finished their, and again, are they willing to buy into it? And
Right.
some do, some don't. But
Right.
before they go to sleep, at nighttime, they're supposed to lay down in their beds and go through a visual check. All right. See the
Right.
play, run the play as they're laying in their bed before they go to sleep. I mean, this is laying down in bed doing this. Again, they've had our practice, they've done some mental rep one steps after practice. Now you're laying down after you've done your homework, after you've done your film work. Now we're going to see it again. So their body is pretty attuned to what they're going to see and what will be coming at them on that Friday game.
Good, good. Okay, this is my last question. Now, again, like I said, and we both knew being running backs, you're going to have a lot of information. There's so much that even we're not even getting into that can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
adjusted
yeah.
to. But I just for our viewers and for our listeners, okay, how do you adjust your scheme to your running backs, your personnel, your running back personnel? So how do you adjust your? I mean, because sometimes some years you have a running back that's just a straight, hey, north and south, and then there's some years you have a slasher.
Right.
And then some years you have that inside zone guy, but maybe you have a power guy the next year. So how
Mhm.
how do you adjust and to your personnel grouping?
I think it's all in the process, but it's all in the tracks, PJ.
Okay.
and the steps
Okay.
they're taking and the tracks that they're taking to that process to get to that point of their aiming point. If you're an inside zone, you're trying to stay on inside hip, it's the steps you're taking.
Right.
Though, and then once you get to where your aiming point is taking you, now is see it be it. You don't have to have a lot of this and that, the side step and that type of thing if you get there and hit it. So it is taking what they do and what they do best and trying to put them in the best situation. It's been a few years ago, 5 years ago, a young
On.
man, was
Really?
wasn't very good at outside zone, but he was good at inside zone, and we ran power. And so that was our focus with him, and that's what we dealt with. That was where he started at. Well, by the time we got towards the end of the season, once he was so confident with those, we were able to begin with the outside zone. He got decent at that as well. So you're taking them and putting them in where they fit into the things we want to run. It all starts up front. We have to say, what are we good at up front? What are we going to be best at? We're going to hang our head on inside zone. Are we a better power team? Are we a better counter team? What are we the best at? And once that is our identity is taken now and understood by all, now which one is going to give us that? Give us that. Now it's not just one back. You and I have talked about this many times. It's not
Oh
just
God,
one.
yes.
You
No,
know,
yeah.
we need in the process of what we do, in those years, it's 2, 3, 2, 3, 4 deep as where you want to be. Now I'm greedy, so I I can get the four good guys that can handle the ball and do those things. That's amazing. What are their skills and what can they get better at? And that's where the journey comes in. Man, that's the beauty of the journey. It's not about where you are started at, not where you are right now. It's where you're gonna end up once that time comes. And so how can we get you to that point and get you better at those skills and what we do? And we know what we do, and so this is what we need to be better at.
Good. Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, so we're gonna transition. We got two questions left. We got one that again is we're celebrating Black History Month, and you're one of our pioneer coaches in the state. Period, hands down. But truly one of our leaders is an African American coach. So I got a bonus Black History question, and I got a goofy question that I'll have. We won't laugh too loud. And like I said, Coach Minks and I we're brothers. So we pick at each other all the time. So the goofy question we're gonna
No,
have to tame it down
I
for you,
don't
okay? Well,
I'm really
yeah.
I'm a little scared because I don't know where you're going. That's why 'cause
Well, no, it's all right. All right, so to my Black History question, and again, this is again an honor for me. But how does it feel to be one of the pioneers as a Black man in our state, just leading the way, it's a state title, whether it's being known as a man of faith, whether it's being a good father, you're just one of the pillars as a coach in our state, and again, you just happen to be a Black man, but it's you are above expectation, put it that way. So how does that what does that mean to you? And how do you carry that weight?
it means a great deal to be first of all, to be a coach, start there.
Correct.
To
Correct. Yep.
be a part of this profession, and that means a great deal to me right off the bat. That's to be known. That title carries a lot of weight by itself. Just being a coach, then you add on the other parts of it, allowing myself to be who I am. I am a Black man. There's no mistaking about that. That's the roots. Being able to be who I am and explore those things. A lot of people have invested in me, and in this wasn't the Keith Hanks would be the first African American in the state of Iowa to be become a head coach. I think I was the third or fourth in that line, but we were all pretty close to the same age and that type of thing, so we kind of knew each other in that process. And Coach Tate was another one, and there was in that line. So it was fun to be a part of, and to I didn't realize it at the time as much, PJ. To be honest with you, as I was going
Right.
through,
Right.
until somebody kind of said, "Hey, you're the first one," and I thought, really.
Yeah.
You knew you were first, but you didn't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew what I didn't know, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but it was came from a lot of people who invested and put time and effort into me and allowed me to be who I am and to grow. So I'm very thankful for that part of it. But yeah, it is a proud. Now you look back on it now that I'm getting to that, old age, after
Man, come on, no.
30, 35 plus years in coaching in this state, it is a blessing.
Right.
I am
Yeah.
I am proud of what we've been a part of. Proud of my family supporting me and allowing me to do it. Sarah and my daughters Alexia and Elena and Avery supporting me, allowing me to to be outside of the house for a great deal of time, but also allowing all these players that have been around to come to our house.
Right. Yep. Yep.
We have our team dinners. We have our running back dinners at the house here. They come over and they feel comfortable with them. And so this is all a part of the big picture that everyone is welcome and you kind of grow from that. And it's a more of a family approach. So I hope that's answers that question.
But no, no, yeah, you to me, you're spot on, and again, I hope that our coaches got out of that. The biggest thing is the importance of being a coach. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. It doesn't matter anything else. It's just the importance and the weight that we carry as coaches, and the title we carry as coaches is important. It's also a blessing, and so that's I think, yeah,
It's in relationships. The bottom line is relationships. It is 100% relationships. The relationships you build in the process, that is the relationships you build with the kids, with the other coaches,
right,
with the coaching community.
correct.
That's always been, where I've drawn the most out of personally, and just the friendships and that have grown. And yes, who doesn't? Everybody loves success. You know,
We all do.
uh,
Yeah,
we all do, and we wouldn't do this if we didn't enjoy
right,
success. But
correct. Yep,
success looks a lot different in the philosophy of a journey. Of a journey. It looks a lot different for me if I looking at it as a journey in this process of and understanding that it's not just if we talk about just winning this game or winning a state title and all those type of things. It's not. I do get more enjoyment out of seeing. You and I met when you were in Upper Iowa. You know
yep,
that. Those type of relationships and friendships that continue to grow and be a part of. Watching you have your kids and those type of things, and then all of a sudden you say, "Hey, will you be my youngest daughter's godparent?"
yep.
Those. That's the relationships that you like to foster and you like to hold on to. And so there's been again many a great people who allowed that to happen and it continue to be in my life today.
Well, that's good. Yeah. See, I mean, I tell you what, that's good. That's genuine. And again, we just appreciate you. All right, so now we got to get to our goofy question. Okay, so
That wasn't
we
it?
got no, no, that was not it. So here we
Wow.
go. This is I've been looking forward to this for a couple days now. Okay,
You didn't say about 2 months like you said.
so who would win in a race? Okay, who would win in a race? You ready for this one?
No,
You don't want to? Okay, you don't. I could switch it up because who would win in a race between you and Tom Wilson today?
I have no idea. We
Who would
both
win?
we both would pull both hamstrings if we tried to take off the sprint. We both would pull two hamstrings trying to take off the sprint. No. So it would be who would land the furthest when we fell down, alright? So that would be the mark. No, that you talk about relationships, and Tom and I've, been friends long before we started coaching together. We met at working camps, in Iowa State and Iowa. That's a lot of that foundation of people that we're still connected with came out of those areas. And it
Yep.
came out of those circles. I know some of the guys that you've have had on your podcast already and hosted, and Willie Thornton, another guy. Met him way back working the Iowa State camp with Coach McCarney and that staff, and still to this day, we're still as silly as ever and hanging out just as much as we did, more so then. So it's a lot of great ones, and you have to give those guys the flowers. Coach
Yep.
Winkler
Yep.
getting me started in the IFCA and being a mentor. And again, watching people be mentors to me and all of a sudden say, all right, you got to give back. Players, players coaching players, coaches coaching coaches,
Coaches.
and
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you got to be able to return that in different ways, whatever way you can. It might not be X and O. It might be philosophy. It might not be anything. It just you return it and not shut the door on anybody who wants to talk. And so that's I have no problem talking with anyone about anything that I have knowledge of, and I will share what I have with anyone.
All right. What's a good way to reach you? What's a good
Best
email?
way to reach me is email, and my email is either at ameeks at dowlingcatholic.org or Andre Aundra Meeks Meeks 23 at gmail.com. So I got two different emails. School email works just fine, and my personal email. Either one of those work just fine for reaching out.
All right. Well, hey, coaches, again, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Again, there's a lot of information, and there's so much more information that Coach Meeks can share with you about running back fundamentals, drills, progressing your running backs. I mean, it's just, again, it's so broad of a topic again, we're trying to keep it in our 30-minute range, but this, for running backs, it's almost like O-line. There's just so much information that can go into it. So, again, thank you, Coach Meek, for doing this and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. And again, we appreciate you, brother, on everything you do. Yep. Thank you, coaches, for listening and subscribing. And like we always say on the podcast, keep grinding. Thank you.